Picture this: two kings, one throne. The streets of New York watching as the greatest lyrical warfare in hip-hop history unfolds. When Jay-Z and Nas went to war, it wasn't just about bars and beats. It was about legacy, respect, and who would reign supreme over the empire of rap. This wasn't your typical celebrity drama. This was chess at the highest level, where every word was a weapon and every track was a declaration of war. By the time the smoke cleared, careers were transformed, classics were created, and hip-hop was never the same. But here's the twist. These two legends eventually became brothers. So how did we get from Ether and Takeover to standing side by side on stage? Buckle up, because this story has more plot twists than a Tarantino film. To understand this beef, we need to rewind to the mid-90s. Both Jay-Z and Nas were young lions in the concrete jungle of New York hip-hop. When Nas dropped Illmatic in 1994, he didn't just release an album. He released a masterpiece that critics still call the greatest rap album of all time. Meanwhile, Jay-Z was grinding, building his empire from the ground up with Reasonable Doubt in 1996. At first, there was mutual respect. They were even cool, appearing on tracks together, representing New York hip-hop when the West Coast was dominating. But you know what they say? The higher you climb, the thinner the air gets, and there's only so much room at the top. The tension started brewing quietly. Small, subliminal shots here and there. It was like watching storm clouds gather on the horizon. Some say it started over a woman. Jay allegedly had a relationship with the mother of Nas's daughter, Destiny. Others point to competitive rivalry, two alphas occupying the same space. Then there were the business moves. Jay-Z was becoming a mogul, building Rockefeller Records into an empire. Nas, despite his critical acclaim, was facing label issues and seeing his commercial success questioned. Jay started making subtle references in his music, questioning Nas's relevance, his work ethic, suggesting that while Nas had one classic album, Jay was consistently delivering hits. By 2001, the subliminals weren't so subliminal anymore. The respect had turned into competition. The competition had turned into animosity, and hip-hop was about to witness a war. September 11th, 2001. While the world was reeling from tragedy, Jay-Z dropped The Blueprint, and on it was Takeover, initially aimed at Prodigy from Mobb Deep, but Jay added a verse specifically for Nas. And let me tell you, it was surgical. Jay came with receipts. He questioned Nas's album sales, called him a one-hit wonder with only one classic album, and even brought up Nas's fallout with his former group and management. But the most devastating line? When Jay rapped about having a one-album wonder career and then referenced Illmatic being Nas's only classic. For a rapper whose identity was built on being the lyrical king, this was a direct attack on the crown. Ether Nas's nuclear response. If Takeover was a surgical strike, Ether was a nuclear bomb. Released in December 2001, this track didn't just respond to Jay-Z, it attempted to end him. The word ether literally means to destroy someone verbally, and Nas gave hip-hop a new term for complete annihilation. Nas went everywhere Jay wouldn't want him to go. He questioned Jay's authenticity, called him a biter of Biggie's style, brought up Jay's lips, made allegations about his sexuality, attacked his relationship with Beyoncé before they were even officially together, and basically dismantled Jay's cool, calculated image. Lines like, "You couldn't sell crack if the buyers paid top dollar," cut deep because Jay's origin story was built on his street credibility. The hip-hop community lost its mind. Message boards crashed. Radio stations played it on repeat. People were picking sides like it was a civil war. Even today, Ether is considered one of the most brutal diss tracks ever created. Supa, Ugly Jay-Z goes too far. Jay-Z, feeling the sting, responded with, "Supa Ugly." And this is where things got genuinely personal and uncomfortable. Jay detailed alleged sexual encounters with Nas's daughter's mother, provided specific details about locations and situations, and basically violated every unwritten rule about keeping family out of it. Even his own mother made him apologize publicly. That's when you know you've crossed the line. When your mama steps in. This moment showed that even in battle, there are boundaries. and Jay had stepped over them. What made this beef so captivating wasn't just the music. It was how deeply personal it became. This wasn't about who had the better flow or who sold more records. This became about manhood, respect, family, and legacy. Nas brought up Jay's relationship with Beyoncé, who was still with Destiny's Child at the time. He questioned Jay's loyalty to the notorious B.I.G.'s memory, suggesting Jay had profited off Biggie's death and style. These weren't just rap disses. These were character assassinations. Jay, in turn, attacked Nas's financial situation, his failed business ventures, his strained relationship with his record label Columbia, and yes, he brought Nas's baby mother into it in ways that made everyone uncomfortable. The streets were watching. Every move was scrutinized. When Jay performed at Summer Jam 2001 and had a video screen showing a photograph of Nas on a horse, mocking him for trying to be something he wasn't, it was cultural warfare. Other celebrities get dragged in. This beef created a ripple effect throughout hip-hop. People had to pick sides. The Rockefeller camp, including Memphis Bleek, Beanie Sigel, and others, all dropped diss tracks supporting Jay. Nature, Cormega, and other Queensbridge artists backed Nas. Even 50 Cent, who was beefing with J. Rule at the time, jumped in supporting Jay. The Diplomats, led by Cameron, eventually got involved. It became a full ecosystem of allegiances and enemies. Mary J. Blige, who had worked with both artists, found herself in an awkward position. Radio DJs like Angie Martinez had to navigate playing both artists' music. Hot 97's Summer Jam became a battleground for who could get the loudest crowd reaction. So how did two people who genuinely seemed to hate each other end up squashing the beef? Time, maturity, and a tragic catalyst. By 2003 to 2004, both artists were evolving. Jay was preparing to retire with the Black Album, cementing his legacy. Nas was experiencing a commercial resurgence. The beef, while legendary, was also holding both of them back in different ways. But the real turning point came in 2005 when Jay became president of Def Jam, the parent company of Nas's label. Suddenly, Jay was technically Nas's boss. The absurdity of the situation created an opportunity. They could continue fighting, or they could make history together. The official reconciliation happened at Jay's I Declare War concert in October 2005. Jay brought Nas on stage and the crowd went insane. It was like watching historical enemies shake hands at the end of a war. They performed Dead Presidents together, a track where Nas had the original version before Jay made it famous, symbolically coming full circle. Later, Nas signed to Def Jam, and they collaborated on multiple tracks. The message was clear. They were stronger together than apart. The beef had run its course, and both men had proven what they needed to prove. Here's the beautiful irony. The beef made both of them better artists and bigger legends. The Blueprint, the album featuring Takeover, is considered one of his best works. The controversy and competition pushed Jay to sharpen his pen game. He went on to become not just a rapper, but a billionaire businessman, owning everything from streaming services to champagne brands. His marriage to Beyoncé created a power couple that transcends music. But that beef with Nas? It proved he could go bar for bar with anyone. Stillmatic, the album with Ether, revived Nas's career commercially and reminded everyone why he's called a lyrical god. The beef re-energized his fan base and proved he still had the hunger. Nas has since released critically acclaimed albums like Life is Good, King's Disease series, and continued to be revered as one of the greatest lyricists ever to touch a microphone. He's also become a successful venture capitalist, investing in companies like Ring and Coinbase early on. After making peace, they gave us gems. Black Republican in 2006 showed them trading bars as allies. Success on the American Gangster album was introspective and mature. BBC reunited them with Diddy. These collaborations weren't just good, they were proof that growth and reconciliation are possible even after the most bitter conflicts. The beef taught hip-hop an important lesson. Competition can coexist with respect. You can battle without destroying. And sometimes, the best ending isn't about who won, but about both sides winning by moving forward. The Jay-Z versus Nas beef wasn't just rap drama. It was Shakespearean tragedy that became a redemption story. It gave us some of the most quotable lyrics in hip-hop history, showed us the consequences of letting pride override judgment, and ultimately demonstrated the power of maturity and reconciliation. 20 years later, both artists are in their 50s, both are moguls, both are respected, and both are legends. When people debate the greatest rappers of all time, both names are always in the conversation. That beef didn't diminish either of them. It actually enhanced their legacies. So the next time you see two artists going at it, remember this story. Remember that Ether and Takeover can coexist with Black Republican and success. Remember that the greatest victories sometimes come from knowing when to put down the weapons and extend the hand. Because at the end of the day, Jay and Nas didn't just give us a beef. They gave us a blueprint for how to handle conflict, competition, and ultimately, how to evolve. If this story gave you a new perspective on hip-hop's greatest rivalry, hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into music history, and drop a comment. Team Jay or Team Nas? Let's keep the conversation going. Respectfully, of course. Peace.